The Trump administration offers the roughly 2 million federal workers a buyout to resign. And, considering we're talking about shrinking the federal government, this is a great story to discuss. President Donald Trump's administration is offering federal workers a chance to take a deferred resignation with a severance package of roughly 8 months of pay and benefits. A senior administration official told NBC News that they expect 5 to 10% of the federal workforce to quit, which they estimate could lead to around $100 billion in savings. All full-time federal employees are eligible except for members of the military, employees of the U.S. Postal Service, positions related to immigration enforcement and national security, and other jobs excluded by agencies. So if this happens, I would love to see a lot of people say, yeah, I'll take that big check and quit. And another thing that I've heard people float the idea of is, I talked about gutting D.C. If you could get the bureaucracies, and instead of having them all in D.C., move them to other places, like move the Department of Agriculture to Iowa, right? And move the FBI headquarters to, I don't know, somewhere else. Maybe move it to Buffalo or whatever. Move these agencies outside of D.C. When you move a company like that, I guess around 20% of the people say, no, I'm not going to move. So if you could go ahead and get rid of 20% of the people, get 5 to 10% to quit for this deferral program, and then move all the agencies out and get another 20% to quit, that's some serious cuts.
They just announced, too, that they're having all these employees come back into work and work from the office now. So it sounds like they're trying to make it as gross as possible for people so that they'll quit of their own volition.
The idea that, hey, you have to go to work now is considered gross. These people work like they're working at our expense. If they're working from home, they're not working hard. They're putting, if they're supposed to work for 8 hours a day, they're working for 5. I mean, it's got to be the most obvious thing in the world.
Federal employees don't do any work even in the office, right? So definitely bad news to have them at home. I don't know that 5 to 10% will quit for 8 months pay though. Do you think they do? I think a lot more people would quit with the move. Right? Like you're talking about. I think in this economy, I think a lot of people are going to be afraid to leave for 8 months pay.
Do both.
Yeah. I'm with it. The more that we can pile on, the more that we can shed these workers, that absolutely.
You got to come back to work, and back to work means Des Moines.
Yeah.
Are you an advocate, Penny, of implementing artificial intelligence into the government and to replace human workers to reduce cost?
I think where it makes sense, yeah. I mean, why not, right? Like, you use the best tools that you have. AI is this new, very powerful tool. We haven't really figured out how to integrate it into our society yet. I don't know that you want to maybe rush into it, but also I don't know that you want to be last either, right? If you can be way more efficient by using AI, I think you should. And I think we are just now opening up that can of worms, right? I think that we're just now reaching levels of AI that could actually help us be a lot more efficient. It's my old industry, software engineering. They are hiring a lot fewer software engineers now because the guys are using these LLMs to write the code, and they're doing 5-10 times as much work per employee as they were before. Why wouldn't we want that in our government, right? If you can get 5 times as much out of a person, you are insane not to do it.
I just love how they wanted us to feel sorry for these workers who actually had to go to work.
No way. No way.
Oh, wait a minute. No. I have to go to work? Like everyone else does. You have to get up, set your alarm, and get up, drive in traffic or take the railroad, whatever, and go to work. No, you can't sit and do 2 hours of work and then sit and watch TV for the rest of the day. No one's buying it. We all know the little tricks with the mouse pad, and it does a figure eight to make it look like you're doing something on a computer. No, no, you have to get up and go. And if that forces you to quit, and if you say, "Oh, I can't live like this anymore," bye.
Victory.
Don't let the door hit you.
It likens to when we had the man of the house would go out and hunt because look, we got to go get resources. It's not going to come to us if we sit in our house all day. You can't work from home when you got to go get the resources. But then someone would get enough resources that they would pay other people to go get the resources for them, and they would work from home. And they'd become the administrator, and people kind of want to all be that guy. They want to be the administrator now and have other people go, mail me the thing, Amazon, send me the stuff. Now telecommunications also kind of altered that. Obviously, it's like a time portal, being able to communicate through space. But that's where I think the state of mind comes from, is people are like, I've arrived, why would I go back?
Well, I think that the division of labor has been an overall good thing. I mean, none of us can, make a toaster. None of us know how to do any, like, from scratch is what I mean. It's like there's the story of the guy that decided that he was going to, like, make a sandwich from scratch. And so he literally was growing all the wheat so that way he could make the bread. And, it took months because he has to grow all the vegetables. And I think he might have even slaughtered the animal that he, the chicken that he made made it with. But that's neither here nor there. The point is, the division of labor is what you're talking about. And overall, that's a good thing because it allows for people to specialize, which means that people can get really good at the thing that they've specialized in. But as you were saying, Penny, like the idea of needing to specialize the way that it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, it's never going to be the same. It's never going to be the same.
If I had to grow my own wheat and do everything else to make a sandwich, like an hour in, I'd be like, you know what? Screw this. I'm not doing it.
I'm ordering
Totally
Quiznos.
lawn and stuff. Yeah, I mean, I agree with Zeke. These federal employees, I see so many videos, guys, that they're all whining and crying, like they gotta, welcome to the real world. Like they're not used to being regular folks who live in their whole federal, democratic, liberal lives. So let them feel like life like the rest of us. You got to drive to work. You got to do the commute. You got to drive home. You got to do your job.
I feel like none of them like grew up. You know what I mean? Like, is this the generation we're dealing with? Like my daughter. My daughter is 9 years old, and for the first time, we're telling her, no, you have to clean your own room. You're at the age now, we're not going to do it anymore. You clean your own room and do a great job when you do it. And she's acting like, like she's back in my great grandparents era. Like she's in there singing old Negro spirituals, and she's acting like, she's like, oh, I'm working all day, and I'm like, no, you're cleaning your room. This is what you do. And this is what these Generation X, Generation Z guys now are doing. Like, wait, no, I have to wake up. No, what? It's early. No, it's still dark outside. Why should I have to do this? No, we don't feel sorry for you. Us older people who had to actually get up and trudge out there and provide a living. No one feels sorry for you. So if you're going to quit, go right ahead. All you're doing is saving us money. I hope a bunch of you quit. Go ahead.
It's the participation trophies.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, bud.
No more of that.
It's got to go.
Yeah, I think that the incentive to work has been significantly degraded because I think that people in the U.S. young people in the U.S., they expect things to be easy because things are really easy. Considering, especially like when you take into account like how much more difficult things were just 10 years ago. Like when you can dial up whatever you want and have it, I mean, if you live in certain areas, you can order something on Amazon in the morning and get it by the afternoon, and when everything is like that, I think that it makes sense that people are like, well, I want the rest of my life to be that easy. You know what I mean? And then the idea of having to go out and bust your hump, that's considerably less appealing, especially if you're only talking about making, minimum wage or making, a moderate income. It's not really attractive. And I understand, like, I don't want to go out and dig ditches for $20 an hour. That's not all that appealing to me, so I get it. But at the same time, like, it takes experience to become valuable to an employer. And so you have to have something to offer. And I feel like a lot of times young people don't kind of take that into account.
I think young people are feel super entitled, right? They want to grow up and have a white picket fence and, raise a family and have 2 cars and all those things. But we never taught them how to win.
Yeah.
Right? Like we were so easy on these kids.
I want to say you're right, but that's not their fault.
Oh, I don't blame them for how they were raised, but we got to do something to pull them out of it, right? Because not only do they not want to work hard, but then they want to give away their last dollar for condoms in Gaza, right? And they're like so upset if you want to take away foreign aid or you want to cut this program or that. And it's like, oh, but you don't want to work? And another thing that we really did wrong was we demonized the trades, right? Like if you don't go to college and get a 4-year degree in liberal studies, then you're a failure, right? Like if you're a mechanic, you're a failure. But if you go get your liberal studies degree or whatever, then you're a hero. And that just doesn't make any sense either.
I had a discussion with someone a couple weeks ago about that, where I said, you got these NYU students who are majoring in stuff I've never even heard of before. Like, you got people who are majoring in African American literature studies, and it's like, okay, well, what are you going to do with that degree? Well, I'm going to go out and speak about African American literature. Okay, well, how many times can you do that during a year? Like, so you mean to tell me you spent $250,000 on your education, on your 4-year degree, to work at Starbucks?
Yeah.
Like, this is where you are, but they feel like this is a very valid and valuable degree to have. And it's like, yeah, okay, I'll take my latte with extra foam. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that the fact that, my generation, I think my generation really kind of dropped the ball with a lot of young people in like what you were saying, Penny, the fact that kids aren't taught to like trades, and that this is not just respectable work, but it's necessary work that's extremely profitable. Like, if you know your trade, like you can decide however much you want to make, because there are fewer and fewer people in the trades that know what they're doing and that are skilled. So if you're a guy that's 25 years old, 30 years old, that's been in the same trade for 6, 7, 8 years, you know how to do your job. You know what you're doing, and you're incredibly valuable. But the fact of the matter is, boomers and Gen Xers didn't tell kids, look, can have the world in the palm of your hand. You can make 6 figures doing this work that you might not think is all that attractive, but once you get it down, it actually isn't backbreaking. There's the tools that are available to help you do these things are incredible nowadays, and you can basically write your own check, and you can have tons of money if you want to learn how to do it. But they were never taught that.
They are, though. A lot of people aren't been taught that. You guys are speaking like it's a monolith. I know plenty of young folks who are getting into the trades and doing the trades, and they're like 20 years old.
But percentage-wise, how many though?
Jeez, bud, I don't know, 20, 30% of the young kids. I mean, I'm not a statistic.
Maybe around here, not in San Diego.
We're in the bubble. We're in the right wing bubble. They're lefties are not. I'm not talking about them, but the people who are taught right and are taught right by their parents and their school systems and everything like that. They are working hard.
Well, I live in San Diego. We don't know anything about those people.
Oh, I'm sorry. You got to meet them, bud. You're a computer guy, so I mean that makes sense.
No, I agree with Penny, because even if you look at social media, what's been the huge talking point as far as from the left? Oh, we're so much more educated than you are.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about left. I'm about the right wingers who are doing good and doing hard.
I get what you're saying. But if you look at social media, ever since Trump won the election, what have they been saying to sort of soothe themselves and console themselves? Oh, but we're more educated than you are. We have college degrees, and a lot of you guys don't. Yeah, but you know what? I'll take an electrician over someone who is an English major and graduated that degree. I'll take someone who's a plumber. You know what I mean? Like, a plumber is going to actually contribute something to society. A plumber will help me actually get from point A to point B. You with your English major, so you can write me a poem. That's not going to help me in the long run.
I mean, you guys missed the point. I'm just saying there are a lot of young folks who are getting into the trades. It's not nobody.
I hope that
that's all I'm saying.
There's a value of relativity when it comes to labor, like working hard, because if you don't know what it's like to actually break your back and like strain your muscles for labor, driving for a few hours might seem like exhausting. Last week we did a 3 shows in Washington, D.C., and I was like ready to drive an hour and a half there and then drive an hour and a half back. I'm like, all right, 3-hour commute. But then I was like, you know what? First of all, Trump's working 18-hour days. If he can do it, I can do it. He's 80. Okay, that's one thing. And then I'm like, I remember what it's like to wait tables, to be on my feet for 7 hours. And then I remember how easy that is compared to chopping wood for a living, which I've done, which literally after 5 hours in the sun, I'm like broken, and 3 days in a row of that. And I can it's hard to think because I'm so fatigued. I know what that's like.
You're probably ripped though.
I was getting there at the time. There's a video on YouTube of me in the process.
I screenshot it.
So having that frame of reference is so important. And if the kid's born and they're 9 years old and they're playing on the internet and they're working from home the whole time, they don't have that frame of reference of what it's actually like to hurt yourself to make money. And you're very lucky to have an office job, and a commute is not hard. It's not hard. It might be boring to sit in traffic for an hour, but it's not hard. It's very easy.
We overprotect our kids. That's, I think, one of the biggest problems that we have in America. We've spoiled the S word out of our kids.
I think that's a phenomenon in the fact that most people have one, maybe two kids. When you only have one or two kids, it's a lot easier to spoil them. And this is all stuff that I've heard. I don't have kids myself, but when you only have one or two kids, it's one thing. When you have 4, 5, you can't spoil them because you're chasing them around and trying to keep them alive and hoping to get the oldest one to help you watch the younger ones because they're trying to shove their faces in a fire pit or whatever, because that's what kids do. But yeah, I do think that we've gone from helicopter parenting to snowplow parenting, which is not just hovering over them to make sure that they're okay, but actually trying to make the world flat and as easy for them as possible. And people need challenges. Like, human beings need resistance. They need to do hard things. They need challenges, or else you just don't develop properly. Like, the reason that the astronauts in the ISS do cardio for like 4 hours a day is because they're not walking around in regular gravity, and their bones literally become brittle, and they won't be able to they'll come back and they won't be able to walk anymore. So it's part of the human condition, where if you're not working to achieve something, whether it be physically or mentally, you'll end up wasting away. There's so many people that they retire when they're, they hit 65, 70, they retire, and then like 2 years later they die because they don't feel like they have anything to do, like their job was their life. So, but I want to go to this.
Can I answer
next.
Penny real quick?
Sure, go ahead.
On your stats, sir. Everything I'm looking up is about recently changes in the last 10 years. You're getting about 47% of young adults are interested in career and trades. I guess they're listening to us. Listen, not me.
Hopefully.
Listen, yeah, right. Listen, folks. So there are a higher percentage of people realizing like you can make money in the trades.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Let me just ask you this though.
Yes, sir.
What's the distribution across the country? Just to speak to Penny's point.
Oh, it's probably rural areas only.
Yeah.
For sure.
I
would think, I'm just throwing it out
No,
there.
I mean,
You know
just
what I mean?
because I think what Penny was trying to say, and what I'm also trying to say, is that you probably have a higher concentration of people getting into the trades more in the Southeast, in Texas, areas like that, where
Northeast PA represents, we're good. We rock here.
Yeah, certain parts of the Northeast, but like he's saying, in San Diego,
Sure.
in New York City, I don't, to get into a trade is seen as almost like, that's beneath me. And I'm just saying that because I see it personally. I'm sure you do as well.
I was only one of 3 people from my high school that didn't go to college. So it was really looked down upon.
You need more tradesmen in where people are spread out too, because the plumber can't drive an hour and a half to that guy's house and then go 4 hours to that guy's house. But in the city, in an apartment building, one plumber can handle 90 people's houses in like 7 hours. So that's probably a phenomenon.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.